You are listening to the IU Report with Grant Shouse and Mike Hutsell every Tuesday on the Central Indiana Sports Report.
Mike Hutsell, this is very, very frustrating, as it always seems to be. You're on the bubble come March 1st. Don't know if you're making the tournament. You lose a game to Northwestern on Tuesday. Then you come back on Sunday in a national televised game and suck the entire 40 minutes against Michigan State. And you're on the outside looking in with Minnesota and Ohio State coming up, and then hopefully a Cinderella run in the conference tournament to get you in the NCAA tournament if you're Indiana. And just seems like every single year that this has kind of been the thing, and it's just getting old.
We talked 2 weeks ago about this team and where it was, and I think it was 8-6 in the conference at that point, and we just talked about how you can't go lose them all. Well, guess what they've done? They've gone out and lost them all. So 4 straight, second time this year in Big Ten play, they've gone on a 4-game skid, and the difference between the two is there's not going to be time to get it back. This time you've backed yourself into a corner that I don't think you can get out of. So congratulations on not being able to accomplish the most basic, easy thing that an NCAA program should be able to do, and that's qualify for the field of 68. It's not that freaking difficult, and Indiana has made it next to impossible. So good job. Hell of a way to introduce yourself to the program there, Darren and the boys. Sucks to suck, I guess.
It seems like today Michigan State they just couldn't miss. They could miss, but my thing is they hit shots whenever they needed to hit shots, because Indiana got it down to 5, and then next thing you know, Michigan State was back up 10 because they come down and hit a 3. They just didn't make many mistakes. They're just a more talented team. The roster's more well-constructed. And if Indiana wants to be a Michigan State, there's going to have to be some more well-constructed roster here in the next few years, because I think first year under a new coach, you can get a pass for this, although it is frustrating. You can get a pass for it, but this cannot just be the thing year in and year out like it has been over the last 6 years or so. It's just not what the fans want. It's not what the program needs, and I'm not sure what the answer is at this point.
The thing about it is we knew all along this was not going to be the easy win on the schedule. This is a really freaking good team. This is a 2 seed in the tournament, maybe a 3. One of Tom Izzo's best constructed rosters that he's had in several years. And you're right. Credit to them. They played really, really well. We talk about in the preseason, if there's one thing about Michigan State is you can see that team go out and hit 2 for 25 from 3 in a game. Well, guess what they didn't do today? They didn't miss. Tang. I like the guy because he reminds me of the Wu-Tang Clan. I'm not going to lie. But 6 3-pointers in today's game. He's hit 10 threes in the last 2 games, going back to the Purdue game the other night. But then their big man, even their big man, Kohler, he hit some timely threes. They had Scott in the corner, knocks down a 3 when it looked like Indiana could make a run. This was that game that it seems like every year Indiana has where they get in a hole, they try to come back, they get to a certain point, and the other team just hits a back-breaking shot after back-breaking shot after back-breaking shot. And Indiana just can never get over Mike Woodson's proverbial hump. And tonight, or Sunday night, whenever this actually airs, we saw it again. And it's frustrating because Indiana needed this win really, really badly. It's obvious they needed this win, but there's 28 other games that you have on your schedule where you could have done something differently and not made this an absolute must-win on March 1st to beat a top 10 team at home. And they didn't do it. They didn't do it.
And I think we're looking at this from a different perspective. on Tuesday night, they didn't shit the bed against one of the worst teams in the Big Ten in Northwestern.
That's just that's just a game. I was there. It was horrible. 9 minutes of the second half without a field goal. Just absolutely just look clueless. We're going to shoot threes. Okay, great. Guess what? If the threes don't go down, what happens? Well, we don't know. And after Tuesday night, we still don't effing know. Nobody on this team seems interested at times and even remotely trying to put the ball on the floor and attacking the basket. There's only one guy I feel like that can do that consistently, and he's fallen out of the rotation now. I mean, this might put Tate and Conaway on a milk carton at this point because, if you see him, let us know. Because DeVries, I don't understand I know Conaway was injured for a while. They played a little better with Enright kind of being the one guy, but they've now lost 4 in a row. And they went away from Conaway. They've gone away from Sisley. They've gone away from guys that played well when they were 8-6 in the Big Ten. And I don't get it. I don't get what this offense is. It's seems like get it across half court and let's see who can shoot a 3 first. It worked. There's Dorn had his hot stretch, but he's turned into a pumpkin again. There's no third option. And Conaway feels like he could be that guy. He could get you to 10 to 12 points a night by putting the ball on the floor and actually getting to the rim. And they've gone completely away from that. Second half of the Northwestern game, he was the only person that even remotely tried to score at the rim and did. So this has been... It feels like the boat started taking on water and DeVries had no way of figuring out how to plug the hole. And he panicked. He did some things that the fan base doesn't understand. And it's a roster that's limited, and making the tournament would have been a huge accomplishment with it. And they've pissed that away, it seems.
The problem is with this new day and age in college basketball is that with the transfer portal, especially in college basketball, that next year you're going to have probably a whole new roster again. And some of these guys won't be back. And so that's why you hope that next year your roster is better. But when you have a bunch of mid-major guys, basically you're kind of a mid-major all-star team in a way. Tucker DeVries won the Missouri Valley Player of the Year back-to-back years. Tate Conaway was Sun Belt Player of the Year. Lamar Wilkerson was a great player at Sam Houston State. You've taken guys that have been great at the mid-major level. Well, that's why they were playing at the mid-major level. You see guys that play at the mid-major level and then go to a Power 5 and then shine. Well, Indiana took solid mid-major players, good mid-major players, and now you throw them on a Big Ten team and they just don't gel. There's inconsistency. And that's what has to change. They have to go get a true big. And I like Sam Alexis. I don't like Reed Bailey. I like Sam Alexis, but they have got to get someone who's more of a better back to the basket player than what they have in Sam Alexis, and let Sam Alexis be your 4. They need a true 5 down there. I know guards win championships, but if you want a good roster and you want good roster construction, you've got to go find a big dude out there that, kind of like a Jackson Kohler or even a Carson Cooper from Michigan State. You got to find one of those guys in the portal.
Well, the other thing that really is kind of just, as we talked about the boat sinking, there's been times where, and I'm with you, I'm a Sam Alexis guy. I would love to see that kid get another opportunity to run back. There's 2 guys on the team I would love to see back next year because we're only one season of Sam, only one season of Lamar. Doesn't quite seem right. But at some point, Reed Bailey's we know he's not a low post guy, but maybe put him out there at the 4 and run Alexis and Bailey together, because I got news for you. Things aren't working. Let's try maybe a little something different. And
yeah,
Bailey,
100%.
Bailey
you're
is
searching,
he's
you're
a much
searching
better
for wins.
guy.
You got to do what you got to do.
Bailey is a much better guy when he puts the ball on the floor and goes towards the back. He's not a back to the basket big. He's not necessarily a stretch 3, but I feel like he could be a guy that could be utilized as more of a mid-range 4 on a screen and roll type thing. He could play a little like Kohler that you saw tonight. He's not going to be that good, but he could be a guy. It feels like that's the type of game he would be capable of playing. And maybe you don't get just absolutely abused on the offensive rebounds every game if you've got a little more size on the floor. It happened again tonight. There was a possession where Indiana, I think, was down 8, maybe 6. They got 2 stops. Michigan State got both offensive rebounds. Michigan State pops it out, hits another 3, and all of a sudden it's a 9-point game again. So frustrating. It's been the same story. We've had this post-game show, I feel like, well, literally a dozen times because they're 17 and 12 now. So I think this was the eulogy on the season. They're kind of the dead team walking. I know they've got 2 games left. They've got a conference tournament to play. With the experience and all these guys being gone, I just don't anticipate them accepting any sort of postseason, the crown, the NIT, which would probably be beneficial. Hell, Nebraska won the crown last year, and look at what they did with it. At this point, it's just going to be going through the motions, have your senior day, see how quickly Reed Bailey gets in and out for his senior speech. I'm going to set the over-under at 93 seconds on that. I don't think he's looking forward to it. Personally, he just doesn't seem like he's having a lot of fun this year. And in a way, I feel bad for the kid because he's just got put in a role that he wasn't suited to play. And then you'll finish with Ohio State on Saturday and then see what happens in Chicago.
All right, so let me ask you this question. Let's say they beat Minnesota and they beat Ohio State, and then they get to Saturday of the Big Ten tournament. Then what do you do with them?
You're putting a scenario together that, I just don't foresee, but
right.
If that happens,
I'm speaking hypothetically.
I mean, if that happens, sure, they're probably. You got to know what happens around it too. True. I think a team like Auburn has kind of played itself out, but at the same time, a team like St. Mary's, who doesn't have any quad 1 wins, is better overall metrics and more quad 1 and 2 wins than Indiana has. And he only has 4 wins in quad 1 and 2 combined. Yeah. That's not good enough.
And Mike, you have to take into consideration that, and people don't do this enough, but the bid stealers that are going to be out there, because they're out there. It's going to happen. It happens every year. The team that you think's going to be in it in, the Horizon League or the MAC, and I'm talking the MAAC, not the MAC. Like, there's always a bid stealer out there. So there is those are the kind of things that I think play into a scenario like this.
Yeah, and St. Louis, who played so well this year, they've kind of started to slow down a little bit. So you could see a VCU, who's already a bubble team, but if they come through and they win that conference, well, St. Louis is still going to get a bid, and they're just going to guarantee a second bid out of the MoVal. We've talked about Miami, Ohio on the show before. If somebody sneaks in and gets them, then, well, at this point, I think with the bubble being absolute trash, there's not even really a question as to whether or not Miami, Ohio is going to get an at-large. And then a team who could go on a run, something crazy, like say a Mizzou wins the SEC tourney and something along those lines. That's the other factor, is a bubble team can solidify itself as a tourney team by going in and just kind of shocking the world and winning its Power Four bid. What if Villanova takes the Big East? Well, they're guaranteed now. They're probably in, but regardless. But if they win the Big East, it's automatic at that point. So Indiana's, it's just so frustrating. It's every year we're having this topic over and over and over again, and it's really not even. It's not that freaking hard, man. Tom Izzo's done it 28 times in a row. Making the tournament is not that difficult, and Indiana has made it it's like scaling Everest at this point. I don't get it. a program with the resources, with the fan base, with the just overall. I mean, there's so much talent in your backyard to recruit, and they don't even do that right anymore. So it's crazy. But here we are. We're having the same discussion. We could have had it last year. I'm just going to go ahead and set the appointment in my Google Cloud to we'll probably have this bubble talk discussion on March 1 of next year.
Well, Mike, to transition into something a little more happy and probably cheerful for Indiana fans who, despite the struggles in basketball, hopefully no one has forgotten that Indiana football went from the worst program in the history of the sport to national champions in 2 years, went undefeated, in case anybody forgot. And they will have more players from Indiana drafted in one NFL draft than they have in any other draft before, or maybe altogether ever. That's probably not true. But in any other draft ever, there'll be more Indiana players that get drafted in April of 2026 than any other draft before. I know Fernando didn't throw at the combine this week, but he'll throw at Indiana's Pro Day, and then saw where guys like D'Angelo Pons had a really good combine, and Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt are getting a lot of interest as expected from NFL teams after this week in Indy.
Yeah, Omar especially, we talked about him a little bit last week with the rise from not being ranked on Daniel Jeremiah's board to already moving to 19th. And then he goes out this week and has a good combine. Like you said, he ran well. That was one thing people were really interested in seeing. He had a better 40 than Carnell Tate from Ohio State. So he has almost solidified himself as close to a lock for a first-round pick as you're probably going to see for a wide receiver in this year's draft. D'Angelo, everybody knew he was going to come in short. He comes in at 5'7", but he kills every other drill that you could possibly do. And he does really well in his interview. His agility drills, he shows really well. He shows a lot of fluidity in his hips and everything. He doesn't get turned around easy on some of these drills. So good performance for him. Probably put himself into the second, definitely third round conversation. So he'll be a day 2 guy. And Elijah Surratt, I think most people kind of know what he is. He's a big bully of a receiver. His height, weight, everything came in. They didn't list him bigger than he actually was. He was every bit what they said he was, and his film's going to probably match what they expect to get out of a guy like him. I don't think he ran. I think he's waiting till Bloomington on April to do his 40 time. So be interesting to see what comes in there. Aiden Fisher, he interviewed really well from all reports that I've read. Pat Coogan, people were fully expecting him to be maybe a guy who's a late round pick, but when he starts talking to teams, moves quickly up draft boards, and it sounds like he lived up to his billing. So it's really cool as an Indiana fan that you're going to be able to watch all these guys play at the next level. That's one thing. I was talking to my kid in the car. It's going to be weird not seeing Aiden Fisher play on Saturdays anymore, or Surratt. These guys that
kind of
sad in a way, but these guys went 27-2 in 2 seasons at Indiana, and it's going to be a completely different group, but you're going to have a chance to get their jersey or watch them now play on Sunday, which for a lot
draft them for your fantasy team.
Yeah, you got that too. But for Indiana fans, a lot of times you watch a guy like a Tandon Doss or something. We watch him and he puts up numbers and plays decently for 4 years, but he just was never going to be good enough to play in the
Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.